All right. Hey, everybody. Thomas Dimitrovich here. Q&A Friday it is in the house. All right. We're going to have I'm trying to get more organized. So I've got like my little cut sheet of things I need to talk about or what I want to cover for sure. I'm going to check those off. We got Steve in the house. Geez, Tom and all, looking forward to a great discussion, whichever the topics are. Absolutely right. And was PE shortage weighed during 2026 110.16 virtually requires PE? Will this cause adoption hesitancy due to PE shortage? We'll take a look at 110.16. I have a little section. I have the open mic day down here. Topic 1 is 110.16. And I'm going to do this. I learned this, Steve. I can hit a star and then I can go back and call it up. Hey, we got Laurel. We got research in the house. That's all we have to say. We got Laurel. So thanks for joining in, Laurel. All right. Okay, so get my calendar. Okay, first things first, public inputs. You know, NEC 2029 is out there and ready to be commented on. I'll tell you how to get there. We'll do this together. Cam A. I think I do Cam A monitor right. There we go. So if we do a www.nfpa.org/70 next, and we hit enter, that will bring up our main page for the National Electrical Code. You'll notice up here that you can log in. So I would suggest that you log in. And my MacBook makes it easy with using my fingerprint. I don't have to remember my password. I don't even know what my password is. So you got next edition. And you can submit a public input. And when you hit submit public input, you'll come up with Terra. You can select the section and make your public input. A little hint, I guess a little, a little hint is that this is the latest edition of the code. So you are commenting on the latest edition of the National Electrical Code. So that's the first one. And public inputs are due. Let's go back. Sorry about that. If you go back and you go to I'm on next edition. It'll tell you public input closing date is April 9th. What am I looking at? That's my calendar. Camera A, monitor right. There it is. Gotta love this stuff. So anyway, it wasn't even my calendar. It's someone else's calendar. All right, so first draft, public input closing date is April 9th. So get your, listen to my stuff, listen to other people's things as they're going through the National Electrical Code. Take your personal experiences out in the field, and when you find that there are issues or concerns with interpretation, make a public input. That's all I got to say. All right, we got Felix Sandoval in the house. Good afternoon, Felix. Happy Tech Friday. Yes. Happy Tech Friday. Okay, so NEC 2029 public inputs. And we got the date, April 9th, 4-9-2026. Happy New Year. Gosh, Neds, this is insane. All right, let's talk high frequency HF GFCI. Everybody loves that topic, right? So HF GFCI. I'm gonna leave it white. Ooh, grid. I can do a grid. Oh, that's cool. So HFGFCI is okay. If you take a look at 210.8, here's what we did, and I get this question um, from a few people. Oh, there's some new stuff on NFPA Link. Just so you know, this is my dashboard on NFPA Link. So this is kind of cool that you can, with your membership to NFPA Link, you have access to all these different documents, different editions as well. I have bookmarked the 2026 code. Um, I have the I have the 2017 code. I got the 2020 code. I've got the 2023 code. All of these, you can put them in a list format, or you can do it in a, like I've got it here. I like this, it's just prettier. But in any case, if you if you're in if you're an inspector, if you are a design engineer who has to design to different codes and standards, I mean, your ICC membership will get you access to all of the building codes and energy codes and things like that. NFPA's membership will get you NFPA Link. I can't say more than that. Hey, Alan Bernstein, Cincinnati. Alan, is it snowing down there? It's got to be cold as it is in here in West by God, Virginia. Okay, so if you go to 210.8, here's what we did. And some people say, well, it's not required. We added in 210.8 the parent text of 210.8. We added an informational note. And it's right here. If you get into your NFPA Link or you grab your book, it's right here, informational note number 2. It says to see UL 943 for further information regarding GFCIs marked HF or HF plus. And it says Class A GFCIs marked HF or HF plus are evaluated for use with loads having high frequency leakage currents from power conversion components such as variable speed drives and inverters. So here's the comment that I get, Alan. Cold but no snow. That's interesting. No snow yet. Well, I'll have to do something about that, Alan. I'll talk to the big guy. Me and him, he and I, we've got a relationship. So the comment that I get frequently is that that's not a requirement. And because the informational notes cannot have requirements. And they are absolutely correct. But the key thing to recognize is we say in here, I don't know if I can zoom in. I'm going to try it. And I can. We say Class A GFCIs marked HF or HF plus. The key thing there is it's a Class A GFCI. That's no different than a tamper-resistant receptacle. If I have a tamper-resistant receptacle, you'll see the TR marked on there. It's still a receptacle. It still has to pass all the tests of a receptacle. It still looks like a receptacle, smells like a receptacle, and I'll bet you if you lick it, it tastes like a receptacle. They have like a vanilla flavor to it. Just kidding. Anyway, I'm really curious how many people are actually going to grab a new receptacle and smell it in the aisle. That would be funny. Anyway, HF or HF plus is a marking on the GFCI, on a Class A GFCI. So that informational note basically tells you it's still a Class A GFCI. Now, the significance of that is that if I have a jurisdiction, if I am in a jurisdiction, or if I'm working on a project that's in a jurisdiction that is on an older edition of the code where a Class A GFCI is required, I can use an HF or an HF plus. I can use a Class A GFCI that is marked HF because why? It is still a Class A GFCI. Doesn't change the it doesn't change the fact that it's a Class A GFCI. So we put it in as an informational note. We toyed with language up above in the parent text saying a listed Class A GFCI or a Class A GFCI marked HF shall provide protection. But we decided we didn't need that because it's still a Class A. So that's a significant piece of the puzzle. Now let's talk about Class A HF versus HF plus. Now, if you go, and everybody can go to CSDS, there is a collaborative standards development system. I think S stands for system. Collaborative CSDS, Collaborative Standards Development System. I believe it is csds.ul.org. Okay. You can go to csds.ul.org and you can log in. You'll create a free login identity, and then you can search different standards, product standards, anything that you are interested in, whether it be, and now you have to know what standard the product is listed to, but you can go to, say, 943 for GFCIs. And if you type in 943, you're going to see 943, 943A, I think. No, 943. I know there's a 943C. 943C is the outline of investigation for the special purpose GFCI. But there's either an A or a B, and I can't remember. And that, I believe, is the photovoltaic or the, man, I can't remember. Anyway, let me search it. Hold on. This is Q&A Friday, and I've got to go to CS, what did I say it was? www. No, I'm just going to go csds.ul.org, and there it is. I just click on that. There we go. Here we go. So I'm already logged in. See that little TD up there? So I'm logged in. This is my dashboard. I type in 943 and I hit enter. And then it'll bring up, there it is, 943, which is your GFCIs, your 943 standard for appliance leakage current interrupters. All right, I could have swore there was an outline of investigation, and I thought it was a 943 that was for photovoltaic. Anyway, you know what? I have not had enough coffee yet. Ooh, I found a new website, Dimpled Bean. DIMPLEDBEAN. Go visit that site. It looks like it's going to be an up-and-coming superstar. A coffee superstar. All right, standard appliance for leach. Then there's the outline of investigation for special purpose. And if you click on these, you can see there's the work. Now, first you have to follow it. Remember, if you don't follow the standard, then you can't get into the work areas. And all of this is publicly accessible, so you can comment on the proposals. There are 7. Look at this. Now, there's a general, a recirculation, balloting and commenting, preliminary review, general request for comments on reestablishing an effective date. Interesting. And that says, all of these say archived, so it looks like they're all done. But you can see the status of these, meetings. Look at this. There are 2 meetings. The status is closed. TC 943 October virtual meeting. And then there's a ground fault circuit interrupters meeting scheduled for these are old, 2024 and 2022. But you can see the meetings that are available. And then there's the technical committee and there's the roster. So there's a lot of information that you can have access to through CSDS. All you gotta do is sign up for it, and voila, you asked and you have received. Laurel, yes, coffee. Um, there's got to be a way. There it is. Last comment. Boom. Yes, COFFEE is good enough for me. So coffee is like, I don't know how to say it. Coffee is like the fuel for the engine. We got I think informational notes. Yes, Alan, informational notes are there for what? Information, right? So they're there to provide us information to give us more guidance. I know what they're trying to do now is get rid of, if you think about NFPA 70B and other documents like that that don't follow the NEC style manual, I gotta mute that. If you have the NEC and things that don't follow the NEC style manual, they don't have informational notes. What they have is annex material. And what you'll typically see is a little star. In fact, let's do that. I'm going to go to my NFPA link, and I'm going to go home. All right, so I'm going home, and if I click on the 2023 edition of 70B, and let's just pick something, I don't know, general. As you look down through, general's not a good idea. Let's go, fundamental tests. Fundamental tests. Nope, there's none in here. What I'm looking for is a star. Let me do this. Let me find one, and then I will show you. Let me go to chapter 5. Ah, yes. There she blows, Cupcake Island. All right. Let me get rid of that. Let me go camera A monitor. Right, there we go. So you see how this section 5.2 has a star next to it and a link? That is annex material. So they don't have informational notes. They have annex material, and then you can see the annex material that is in this in the thing. And that's the nice thing about link, is it will provide that for you. So you are not looking at, now here's the other important thing is, this is not, what do they call that? Oh, man. In the NEC, they have, let me go to 110. They have, in the NEC on NFPA link, enhanced content. Okay, that what I showed you is not enhanced content. It is annex material that the code panel put together. Remember that when you read enhanced content, it is not the information that the code panel agreed to. That is just like me telling you what my opinion is of this. It's not enforceable. Anything I say on my channel, if you went back to an inspector and said, well, Tom said, and you shared my video with him, he'd say, well, Tom's not the AHJ, right? I don't speak for panel 2. I don't speak for panel 10, NFPA, IEEE, Eaton, anybody. I may have the logo right down here. That's the company I work for. But everything that comes out of here hopefully started up here and it comes from the heart. It's what I believe. It's my interpretation. It's my opinion. And it means zip. Okay? Just like everybody else's opinion. Your opinion's as good as mine. But when you have language that was voted on and reviewed by multiple people and you got consensus and you went through a process to arrive at that language, it's not the language of an individual. It's the language of a committee. at that point that followed a process to get there. So just always keep that in mind, no matter who you're listening to. In fact, I just saw this on NFPA's NFPA link. They just added this new AI experience. I have not tried this yet. This is, they call it Cassie. I have not tried the AI engine. Here's my opinion on the AI. AI can be great. AI can be very useful. AI gets you into the ballpark. Now we're talking AI. I'm going to hit AI. Putting that on my topic list that we're covering today, because AI, artificial intelligence, takes a stab at something. It'll get you in the ballpark. It is not the final thing. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. And it's going to come up when we start talking about continuous load and continuous duty. I had a discussion with an individual who shared with me that he asked the NFPA engine, this Cassie, a question, and he got an answer, and he shared it with me, and he was using that language to say, look, you're wrong, because Cassie says, well, let's talk about continuous load and continuous duty. We're going to move into that. I think I hit the GFCI. You get that one. I wanted to talk about EV and GFCI and CQD. So let's go down to my bullet 3, continuous load and continuous duty. I wrote, and I think I talked about it last week. When I wrote the article, I made a statement in there that a motor can never be a continuous load. And what started our debate was that the design engineer that emailed me was saying, you're defying the laws of physics. Motors that run all day are continuous loads. We treat all motors continuous loads. And in the dialogue, one of the emails said to me, and I am not going to bring up the email, but I want to see if I can find it, because I don't want to misquote anybody. No, that's Todd. Sorry, Todd. I love it. And I think it was ampacity. IAEI article was the title. And so what he said was this. All right. Details. See more. Okay. Tom, there it is. What I am attaching is from NFPA links from their AI platform. So that's this Cassie thing. And he said a motor is typically considered a continuous load unless it is blah, 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 blah. And that's wrong. A motor is not a continuous load by definition. Now, and the reason is, by definition, I'm going to use the 2026 code, Article 100. And continuous load is not under C. It's under, continuous load is under C. Continuous duty is not. Continuous load, LM, I want to say continuous load is not under C, and sure enough, it isn't. Continuous load. So here's the definition of a continuous load. A load where the maximum current is expected to continue for 3 hours or more. The maximum current on a motor load is the locked rotor amps. That never runs for more than 3 hours. So it's never a continuous load. And they don't use the term continuous load in Article 430. So I'm sort of I'm surprised, yet I understand why the artificial intelligence engine said what it said. But this is why I think you've got to take everything with question everything you hear, question even more of what you see. Okay, so continuous load, a load where the maximum current is expected to continue for 3 hours or more, not a motor. Motors use the term, if you go to Article 430, they use the term continuous duty. So if I go to continuous duty and I have to go to duty continuous, and I already went through my my snide remarks on this definition, but it's operation at a substantially constant load for an indefinitely long time. So there's no reference to 3 hours. There's no reference to, if I go back to continuous duty, I could have, I want to make sure continuous load said, yeah, for 3 hours or more. There's no time reference in continuous duty. So my statement is correct. Now, and I think things like this, like the AI discussion that we're having, the artificial intelligence can make statements like that. And what you have to do with AI is you have to train the engine. You've got to say, no, a motor load is not a continuous load because give the definition of continuous load, and the maximum current is the locked rotor amps. So when you respond back that way, it will correct it, and then it learns. Okay, now I don't know anything, I don't know zip about NFPA's AI engine. I'm just telling you how AI engines work in general. And I think that it's absolutely phenomenal that NFPA is employing artificial intelligence. We need to be finding ways to use that technology more and more. But we have to understand that it is not infallible. It can make mistakes and it can go down the wrong roads. We have to train the engines. So I would encourage you to use that engine, that new feature, that new tool, which is absolutely phenomenal. I haven't used it yet, but I do plan to use it. But take what you get back and weigh that against your knowledge of the code. It's not to replace your knowledge of the code. It's not there to say you don't need education, because you do. Okay, the way the code interrelates and all that jazz. Just be mindful. All right, so let me get out of here again. Let me get back over to this. Hi, Sergio Panetta. AI is assumed intelligence. I think I am going to remember that, Sergio. Thank you for tuning in. I am going to remember that one for sure. All right, so I did want to touch on continuous load and continuous duty. Again, because I still get questions, I still get, even after I talked about it once and twice, I'm getting some creative emails, and I'm always open to that. If you disagree with anything I say, please send me an email, give me a phone call if you know my number. Send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn, go out to thomasdimitrovich.com or tdunplugged.com. There's a link there to get in touch with me. Please do so. Say, hey, Tom, comment on the video. If you want to be anonymous, send me an email. If you want to comment on the video and say, I disagree, if you want to give me a thumbs down, do it. Remember, if you want to do a thumbs down, you have to hit it twice. Just saying. Alan Bernstein, subtle, great point, continuous load. Yeah. Thanks, Alan. And I tell you what, I learned this too. And then, Alan, what bothered me in the continuous duty definition, it was so vague. So I'm still studying this. I'll tell you what I've learned so far, and I was going to share a little bit of this as well. If you look at the terms continuous duty, intermittent duty, and periodic duty and short time duty, all right? If you look at all three of those, it says operation at a substantially constant load. What is a substantially constant load? My opinion of substantially constant is going to be different than your opinion of substantially constant. And then indefinitely long time. Well, a long time for me is 50 years. I don't know. And if I'm between my inspector, contractor, design engineer, we can all have an argument and disagree, and we can all have an opinion on what a long time is. So I'm surprised that we have such unenforceable terms in a definition. I'm not trying to change it yet, because what I want to do is understand it first. The other one is intermittent duty. Operation for alternate intervals of load and no load, or load and rest, or load, no load and rest. Okay? So, and then there's periodic duty, intermittent operation, in which the load conditions are regularly recurrent. What's regularly, right? So in any case, my homework on this so far, Alan, has taught me John McCamish is, what I love about John McCamish. I will make these statements and he rolls his eyes, but then he does his homework and he comes back and he sends me stuff. And he's like, watch this, read this, watch this. Because I think we're both trying to understand it. And I think he agrees. And I think most people would agree that these are very vague words. But what I learned was that so far, and I have not, this isn't fact yet. I'm listening to the leaves and the tea leaves. There are some reference materials that are saying that the reason they don't go to a specific time is because these applications will vary in how long it takes for them to get to a equilibrium temperature. Some things might take 4 hours, some things might be an hour, some things might be 20 minutes. So because it is variable on how long it takes to get to temperature equilibrium, that's why these definitions don't say 3 hours or 2 hours. They leave it to the engineer or to the whomever person who is trying to apply the code. Now, that scares me even more. I don't know if that's accurate or not. So one of my next steps, Alan, is to go to the standard for motors. And I want to understand how a motor is tested. So I'm going to reach out to Balder, ABB. I've got a contact over there. I don't know if he's available or willing to chat, but I'm going to reach out to some motor people, and I want to understand how motors are tested. And I really want to dig into how a motor that's labeled and listed as continuous duty, what are the tests it goes through? And how do you determine that a motor is continuous duty? I think understanding that will help us understand why or how to identify an application. Because if you look in 430, it says a continuous duty application. It doesn't say a continuous duty motor. It says a continuous duty application when you're determining the multiplying factors, right? Whether or not you do the 125% or not, they're based upon a continuous duty application, not the motor, because I can use a continuous duty motor in a non-continuous duty application. So in any case, I'm doing homework on that, and I'm trying to learn more of why these three terms are so vaguely written. And I will get back to you on that. But that's where I'm at right now. All right. You said those words, Those are waffle words for a team who could not agree. You know, you're probably exactly right. You're probably exactly right. But here's and my thoughts are that if I can't agree on a time, what would really be helpful is an informational note to give me that information to say, for example, a continue or either an informational note in the definition or an informational note back in 430 to say a continuous duty application is one where blah, whatever it is, right? And when I learn what that is, that might be a very good public input, and all of these discussions and journeys would be substantiation for that public input. But I've got so many other things going on. My time to devote to continuous duty is it's not a full-time job for me. So every now and then I talk to people and I share the news, and then hopefully people get back to me, because we can all learn together if we just do a little homework together. And maybe somebody out there who's watching this YouTube video might say, "Oh, I know exactly why. And I know the information that Tom's looking for." And then they send it, or they make a comment on the video, or maybe I've spurred somebody to say, I'm going to look at MG1 and a few other standards around motors. So anyway, that's just a thought. Steve, I did comment on the continuous duty IEI video that day when you asked for feedback, but I didn't think you saw it. Oh, um, you know what I can do? It's fun to stay at the IAEI. There's Eaton. Where is my IAEI? I can go out to the IAEI YouTube channel and take a look at the comments. Um, I'm not good at doing that. I have to, I'm not even good at finding the IAEIs. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go to youtube.com/IAEI International. That's the easiest way to get there. Continuous load. So if I click on that and I pause it, that's when I was over there. The reason I'm up here and I'm in Bobby Joe's office, my wife's office, because I'm working downstairs. I took my drop ceiling down. I'm going to paint the ceiling, and I have not been able to get down there and finish painting. But I've got to move electrical wires because they just went from one side to the other, and they never went through the joist. They just draped that conductor right over the drop ceiling. There you are. Hi, Tom. Happy New Year. The rules in the NEC are definitely complex for providing buffers for continuous loads. There's seldom the opportunity to use absolutes like always. And I'm reading right here, Steve. There's your comment. Absolutes like always and never. Like fire pump circuits that require design for continuous locked rotor amps. And in commercial and industrials, there are torque motors that are designed to operate at locked rotor. And in some cases, continuously locked to expert pressure or hold a load in place. These motors are provided with external independent cooling systems that allow this operation, and the circuits have been designed to withstand these demands. In your article, it seems like fundamentally you were correct, but exclusive of these other situations where, yes, I was, yes. And there's many variations of these designs. So I don't think my article went in depth on motors, because I'm going to have another article on motors. One can be blamed for means as not only completely devoted to such a vastly multifunction specialty such as motors, look at the size and complexity, can easily overgeneralize and be an error. I agree. The NEC is a work in progress and is extremely fortunate to have a contributor of such caliber. Oh, thank you, sir. And most articles, such as you've written in a collaborative effort between several authors, are able to catch stuff between them to produce a solid yes. I agree with you that the NEC definitions, language, terminology can be improved, and it's hard for us. I've witnessed CMP members and committee members discuss, and that's what Alan said, that's the language, because we couldn't get consensus. And they have difficulty agreeing and resolving the issues as well. So it's hard to get it right from the first time. I agree 100%. Okay, the resolution will be born of these very discussions, absolutely. In my opinion, like Robert said, you're on the right track, and there are considerations, fire pumps, This topic inherently requires collaboration. I'd like to hear from Don G. Excellent. So I agree with you 100%. And anybody can go out and take a look at that comment on IEI's YouTube channel and and go watch that session. Um, so Steve, here's my thought process. I'm going to write another article for IAEI magazine, and I'm going to focus on motors because here's one of my issues with there's an exception. Boy, we're getting deep into this discussion, which is great. I dropped the pen, but thank God Bobby Joe has a bunch of other pens. She loves pens. So, the more you know, the more you don't know. Exactly. I love that comment. I love that comment. That is the more you know, the more you don't know. Thomas Yingling 8123, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. So my thoughts on the motor, and here's my issue. Let me go to NFPA link. And you mentioned it, Steve, in your comment, but there is an allowance for when you have a motor that is, say, used at the locked rotor, and they talk about, or whatever reason, a motor, and they talk about cooling the motor. Okay, they don't change. I'm talking now. Right now, I'm talking out my you know what, because I'm going by memory. I'm not going to try to look it up, but I'll do a session just on motors and continuous duty, right? Continuous duty applications. We're going to talk, forget about continuous load. We're going to go continuous duty because they put the multipliers, the 125% and whatnot in 430. But my issue was in the area where they do a multiplier for, they give you different multipliers. No, they don't give you different multipliers. They talk about the motor that is cooled. And my issue with a motor that is cooled, you're cooling the motor, but you're not cooling the conductor. That motor, say that motor is pulling locked rotor amps, and let's say it pulls it for 3 hours. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm really out on a limb here. But if it does, there are no multipliers for changing the overcurrent protective device nor the conductor size, because we don't want work off of locked rotor amps in sizing the conductors. We work over the full load amps, the 125%. So there was language in here that when I got to it, I was talking with. In fact, I think I had because John McCamish, because we were talking 110.14, which is 110.14 terminations. I'm getting into terminations now. So I learned a lot about terminations, and I could never understand 110.14. And now, not only do I understand it completely, I mean, I don't believe there is anything you can throw at me that I would be stumped, because I did a lot of homework on this. And I firmly believe 110.14 is screwed up, and we're going to try to fix it. But when I was coming up with those and trying to understand that and going through all of those details, I had those who were against or who were arguing with me, which I love, and saying you're wrong because. And then I would go do my homework in those different areas, and motors was one of them. And when I got to motors, there is a section in here somewhere in 430. Let me do a Control F, cool. In locations where dust are flying, seriously, that's not it. That's cooling of motors. There's 7 locations where cool is used. Thermal, there it is. Okay, thermal sensors embedded in the motor. That was where I was dealing with. It was not the cooling, it was the thermal sensors in a motor. And they said you can do certain things with sizing the circuit when you have thermal sensors that are embedded in the motor. And my thought was, I don't care about the thermal sensors in the motor when I'm talking about the conductor and the termination. I care about, when I talk about the conductor and the termination, all I care about is how much current's passing through that termination and go into the load. If you want to worry about the motor and provide better protection for the motor, and you want to put thermal RTDs in there and all this other good stuff, hey, have at it. You can have code requirements for it, but that doesn't change the thermal response of the conductor and the breaker because there's no RTDs in there. If I'm sizing them the same way, then, and that's what it was. You can increase, see this, my memory's coming back. You can increase the thermal overload when you have that in the motor. But the thermal overload protection has to also protect the conductor and the termination at the breaker. So Article 430, and it may be self-correcting, and I have not dug into that, which I plan to do. And I haven't found anywhere where even that allocation of going higher where it jeopardizes. And maybe that's what it is. They know that it's not going to jeopardize the thermal overload protection of the conductor and the thermal overload protection for the termination, the 110.14 requirement, where I can't go greater than whatever temperature column in 110 or 310.16. So I had an issue with the fact that you can put thermal sensors in a motor and change your thermal overload. That's for protection of the motor, but you can't lose sight of the fact that you still have to protect the conductor and you still have to protect the termination at the circuit breaker or the fusible switch or the motor starter, whatever is up there. So in any case, I'm going to dig in to motors, and I agree with you 100% that that are 100% that it's a lot more complicated than you think. It's a long comment. Oh no, I loved reading it. I loved reading it. Felix, Q&A 20 is already. Thank you, Felix. And this year, I had we lost Jake last year. That hit our family very hard. It was a rough Christmas. It was a rough holiday for that reason, and for a lot of other things. I always get emotional over the holidays. It always has been a tough time for me, and so it's like you go through a little sag, and then you got to get back up and get that good Colombian roast flowing. Which I'm expecting it, Felix. I'm getting a coffee maker today, and it was so I've been with Eaton for 30 years, and I took my 30-year. What they do at Eaton is they give you this site where you can go. They give you points. They call them E-Star points. They give you points, and they say, "Hey, go pick a gift out for your 30-year anniversary." So I picked out a coffee maker. It's a oh man, it's a Hamilton or something like that. I can't remember the brand, but it's an espresso maker. You put the coffee grinds in there. I've got a coffee grinder. I went through all of my beans from Colombia and Costa Rica. I'm done. I'm now buying from the store. We buy from Puppy Paul's coffee. I'm going to be probably looking at the dimpled bean for coffee, but in any case. We're getting coffee beans in and we grind them here, and I'm going to be making espresso. And my cup is going to get smaller, unfortunately. I went to Europe one time and I was getting a cup of coffee, and there were two cups there. There was the real small ones and there were the larger ones. So I grabbed the larger one, I got a coffee, and the guy walked over and he goes, "You're from America, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he goes, "I could tell by the cup you picked. The cup I picked was for tea. The small cups are for coffee." And I'm like, well, I suck down caffeine like some people take lollipops. So, you know what it is. Anyway, so I will be doing a focus on motors. and continuous duty. Bobby Joe's she's gonna come home and she's gonna say, why are all my pens on the floor? All right, so let me look at my list. Continuous load, continuous duty. We reviewed the definitions. Um, we talked a little bit about the calculations, which Steve, thank you for the comment, for the long comment. And I will be writing an article for hopefully the next. I got to find out when the next edition's due. So that's all I want to say about continuous load, continuous duty, and I wanted to update you guys that what I'm learning is that when it comes to motors, it's when they hit an equilibrium and it may change. And that's where I'm at right now. That's my 30,000 understanding of why it's continuous duty is no time limit, because when it hits a thermal equilibrium will change per application. So, but I don't know if that, don't quote me. Well, don't quote me, whatever. But you can always quote me, and I'll tell you, well, I was wrong. But in any case, I'm looking that up. Terminations 110.14. Uh, NM wire. Okay. So I'm learning. So again, this is one of those things where I'm talking to individuals because what I was trying to understand, we had an application. I had conductors in an attic, and it was what's the largest size NM wire that you can get? Was it a 30 amp circuit? NM wire sizes. So I love. All right. For a 15 amp circuit, and they go up to a number 2. It looks like that's what AI tells me. So we had it was like a 30 amp circuit, and they used NM wire, or was it a 50 amp circuit? Can't remember. Somewhere in that ballpark. And I was doing the ampacity calculation because what I'm learning is we've got instances. I'm seeing instances where the values, the conductor that's being used is not the wrong size. It's too small for the application. And one part of that is the 110.14 discussion that I've been having, that little epiphany of the fact that people are going to the next larger size overcurrent protective device when they are not permitted. I can tell you 3 major, and you know all 3 of them. They write books, they do education, they go around the country and teach, and they're teaching it wrong, right? I taught it wrong for years. I'm correcting that. My article in IEI magazine corrects that. I'm starting that. I'm starting the steps, right? So it's like, first you got to admit you got a problem, all right? And then you got to move from there. So, oh, yes. Thank you, sir. So, thanks, John. So, there's a point in when you have to say, look, I was wrong. I was wrong. The moment you can admit you're wrong, then you can start fixing it, right? And that goes for anything in your life. So I'm sitting there saying, all right, so what I've learned tells me what I was doing in the past was not accurate. So now I'm on that recovery thing and saying, okay, I'm sharing what I know. I want to socialize with as many people as I can, and I want people to tell me you're wrong. And so they're pointing out areas where they disagree, and then it makes me do my homework. So, but in any case, the 110.14 discussions, we're putting on we can't go to the next larger size beyond if a termination is 75 degrees C and I land a conductor on there and it's a 90 degrees C insulated conductor, whatever is in that 75 degrees C column, I have to protect it at that value or less. I can't go to the next larger value. Everybody agrees 110.14 does not change the ampacity of the conductor. It's all about the termination. So I just want to make sure that I reiterate that 110.14 and the question that came in from Dan Martin's 1282, 4 months ago. This is pretty bad. I have a question on the 90C. If I have switchgear with bus bar only sections, and it feeds a CT cabinet, which then has bus bar feeding a main circuit breaker section, the mold decay circuit breaker is 75 degrees C. Could I use 90 wire compression lugs from the connections section to utility transformers? So here's the thing. If you have equipment that is 75 degrees C, I can use 90 degrees C conductors. And I'm hoping this answers this question. I can use 90 degrees C conductors every day of the week, twice on Sunday. I just can't use that 90 degrees C conductor at its ampacity. Does that make sense? So what you have to do is you've got to recognize there's a difference. When I have a termination, if it says 75 degrees C, all I worry about is the mass, the amount of copper. I don't care what insulation is on it. I worry about the mass of copper that is landed on that termination. Now, I say I don't worry about, you can't have insulation that's less than 75 degrees C. Okay, so don't put 60 degrees C. So that was a question that came in, and I'm going to tell you what I've learned about the NM wire. So, but I skipped that. So my answer to this guy is I can use 90 degrees C on conductors, insulated rated, on 75 degrees C lugs every day of the week, twice on Sunday. I just can't use it at its 90 degrees C ampacity. Now let's go back to the NM wire. So here's what I learned about the NM. So we've got these applications where we're using NM, say 50 amps or whatever circuits, 30 amp, whatever circuit. And when I was doing the calculation, I was doing the adjustments, and I can't remember who it was who said, I think it was John McCamish. He said, if that's NM wire, you can't use the 75 degree C column. You have to use the 60 degree C column. So if you go to NFPA in chapter 3, and there is an article that covers NM wire, 3 non-metallic sheathed, chapter, where is it? Non-metallic sheathed. There it is, 334. If you go to 334, it tells you, boom, 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 type NMC, uses not permitted, exposed work, cable entries, bending radiuses, boxes, and ampacity. It says, and this is in 334.80 in the 2026 code, it says the ampacity of types NM and NMC cable shall be determined in accordance with 310.14. The ampacity shall not exceed, which that's wrong too. It's not the ampacity. Well, it is the ampacity. It says the ampacity. The ampacity shall not exceed that of a 60 degrees C rated conductor. So that means the ampacity, based on conditions of use, I can't exceed what's in the 60 degrees C column. And it says the 90 degrees C rating shall be permitted to be used for ampacity adjustment and correction. So what they're saying is, and I love this, and here's why I love it. If you go to 310, oh, this is beautiful. I will bet that in 310, I've got a 310.16, open a new tab. It's not my FedEx truck, waiting for my coffee machine. And I'm going to make a cup of coffee. I'm going to have an espresso. Anyway, if you go to 310.16, when like a number 14 and a number 12 and a number 10, and then you go to 240, I'm in discovery mode. If you go to 240.4 for protection of conductors, ooh, that's Amazon. If you go to 240.4, open in new tab. Oh, there it is. I opened it twice. For small conductors, there it is, 16 gauge. Now, if I go to 310 and for a 16 gauge, let's not do 16. Let's do 12. Where's 14? 14. 14's right here. 10 amps provide 14 AWG copper clad. That's a copper clad aluminum. 14 AWG copper, 15 amps. If I go to 310, 15 amps, 14 is 15 amps. A 14, there it is. I was wrong table. If I go to the table 310.16, a 14, I'll bet you wiring devices are only at 60. I'm going to go out on a leaf. A leaf? No, I'm going out on a limb, and it's a shaky limb. But I'll bet that they are at 60 degrees. So I've heard a couple different things. I've heard one is that they understand when they have the 90 degree C insulated conductor, and you have this, which a 14 is rated at 90 degrees C for 25 amps. They're telling you put this on a 15 amp breaker. But that's the 60 degree C. If I had 75 on either end, I couldn't go above 20. But because it's NM, they tell you no, you will always protect it at 15 regardless. And one of the messages or the reasons I got for that, which I have not confirmed yet, this is purely conjecture. I love that word. Anyway, they'll tell you it's because people aren't doing the ampacity adjustments correctly. They're not adjusting for the ampacity of these conductors that are routed in higher elevated temperatures. So they're not letting you say, okay, if I have 75 on one end, 75 on the other, I'm going to put that on a 20 amp circuit breaker because I can, based upon all the other logic. They're saying, no, you're going to put it on a 15 and you're going to protect it at 15 amps. That ampacity adjustment's not occurring. And plus, if you look at, I think wiring devices are probably at 60 amps. I'd have to check the standards. All right, so that's that. That's the 110.14 discussion. NM wire. Oh, well, hopefully I'm still contributing. Yep, I locked my computer. So all right. So I wanted to cover that. I wanted to cover the terminations, the NM wire, and the temperature challenge. Okay. Data centers. Okay, let's just before I get out of here. Oh wait, let's take a look at some comments. The more you know, the more you know. It's a long comment, not necessarily look now. Q&A. All right, long time no see. Not R. Kelly. Yeah, it's been a while, man. You gotta. I mean, it's been a while for me, so I apologize for the brownout. I would say that any power system protection scheme that allows 3 hours or locked rotor amps is not set up right. You know what, Alan? I didn't want to say it, but you said it, and I'm with you. LRA. Life was so much simpler. When I was always concerned was the fire pump. Locked rotor current 695.5. Yeah, life was so much simpler. And that's, you know what, Dan? That's a good point, that for a fire pump, I have to assume, remember, I want that fire pump to be pumping water. I don't care about if I melt the motor and melt everything else around it. Oh, look at that. We got people. We're learning from each other. Laurel, 360 degrees, 334.80. Yes, thank you. Thank you. You find stuff faster than I do. Can't forget 110.4C, any circuit 100 amps or less. Yes, I like the I. SWFL Snowflake. So 110.14C, any circuit 100 amps or less, you must use the 60 degree C column. Yes, absolutely right. That is that's not, no, hold on. You have a few, with exception. There you go. When all connection terminals are explicitly marked for 75. Now, and my point though was that even if both terminations are 75 degrees C, if I'm using NM wire, I can't use the 75-degree C column, I have to use the 60. Oh, Nihad, you are the man. Thank you for joining in. We've got Egypt on the line. I hope mom's doing okay. Tell her I said hi. Okay, so I wanted to cover that. What else did I want to cover? So I think we beat that one up. EV and GFCI. Okay, here's one. I keep getting this. Now I'm getting phone calls about it. Here's what happened in the. Okay, we're back at the 2023 code cycle. We're in the 2026 code, but they rejected the changes, and now we have a 625. And you know what? Honestly, I'm not even going to go into it because Kyle Krieger and I talked about it at our NECA Code Question of the Day podcast. And you've got to go to NECA's Code Question of the Day, CQD, and I want to put the link, forward mover, YouTube. Let me put the, there it is, CQD NECA. All right, so let me go to the live. So here it is. I'm going to put the link, share, copy. I'm going to put the link in the chat. All's good. Thank you, Nihad. Oh, I missed your previous comment. So I just added, while I'm looking for Nihad's previous comment, I saw it. All is good. As always, great job. I saw that one. Thank you. I put the link, and that YouTube session is myself and Kyle Krieger. He is president of over all of the codes and standards for NECA. We're doing Code Question of the Day podcast. You've got to subscribe to that YouTube channel. We're going to be doing Thursdays at 12. And we're going to be conversing, and we're reaching out to Palmer Hickman. We're going to have hopefully him on to talk about 110.16 and NFPA 70E related topics with regard to an additional person being required for some work. So you're going to want to start following that. I want to start driving the membership to that YouTube channel, and you can go to NECA's NECAnet.org, I think it is, NECAnet.org, and you can subscribe to Charlie Trout's Code Question of the Day, and also down at the bottom you can see a podcast, and you can listen to me and Kyle and whomever else guests we have rant and rave. All right. Nihad says, in response to what you said about not responding, Eaton, or anyone else. Thank you. Gotcha, Nihad. Thank you. Okay, so I put the link in there so you have that. Oh boy, and here comes Amazon. I got an Amazon delivery. I think actually this is my sights for my Glock. I'm getting a silencer for my Glock, and I need extra high sides. I said you are representing Tommy Short Pants. Representing Tommy Short Pants. Absolutely. You can go to TommyShortPants.com too. All right, so we hit, what did we hit? We hit, now the EV and GFCI, I'm going to tell you, go check that out. The misconception is that you no longer need GFCI if you're on the outside of a dwelling unit and it's hardwired. That is not an accurate statement. So that's that one. We already talked about the CQD YouTube. I got that there. Click on that link. Go out to that YouTube. Watch that video. Subscribe. It's free. Hit the bell to let you know when we go live. All right. And the only topic I did not do. 110.16. 110.16 is Arc Flash. You know what to do? So Arc Flash. So, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that now. I've overstayed my welcome. It's an hour and 10 minutes. I think my coffee pod is now coming FedEx. This is perfect. I got FedEx is coming. Amazon just delivered my sights for my Glock, for my silencer. FedEx is going to be delivering my coffee pot. So I am going to be a busy boy playing with my toys. All right. And what I might do, I might bring the coffee pot over here, and then maybe I'll go live as I make my first cup of coffee. All right. So stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to go live only on my YouTube channel. I'll go live and I'll show you I'll do an unboxing. Oh man, I don't even know if am I supposed to be in a meeting? Let me see. No, I'm not supposed to be in a meeting. So I'm going to get these and I'll do an unboxing a little bit later. All right. And Felix, you can give me some feedback. All right, everybody. I will cover selective coordination next time. Have a great day. Thomas Yingling, 8123. You have a great day. Thank you. Laurel, I will enjoy my coffee. Thank you very much. SW Fleck, I've got to say, I like the design of the Powerline series. Thank you. I'm currently doing a few site surveys, Rogers Electric, for a few Dick's Sporting Goods. Oh, in Florida. Dick's is, I think, started up here in Pittsburgh area, if I'm not mistaken. And the access is great. Excellent. Thank you very much. Any and all feedback is really good to have. Excellent. All right. So we got Felix. Coffee's the best, but in a Shark Week mug. You are, and I'm gearing up for Shark Week, so I'm starting to reach out to people. Nihad and I are going to do a video. I'm going to reach out to Terry Becker. Terry Becker's committed to do one. I've got a lineup. We're going to record them earlier this year, and we are going to hit it out of the park. All right, Alan. Be well. You too, my friend. And Steve. Thanks for a great discussion. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Everybody, take care. Stay safe. And thank you. I'm glad that some of this actually helps. All right. My coffee pot has been delivered. Yes. All right. Take care, everybody. I'll probably go live after a while. See ya.